Right, welcome everybody. Whilst SpartacusRex is sorting out his vape, I'll welcome you all. So, welcome to this leadership AMA. We've already taken a number of questions which we'll be going through, but if you do have any that come up during the course of this conversation, then please use the stage questions channel, and we'll get as many up to the stage as possible. This recording, or this call is recorded, and we will be getting it up to our YouTube channel shortly after it concludes. We won't be using the raise hand feature. Like I say, please do put any questions into the stage questions channel. That all being said, over to you guys, Hugo and SpartacusRex.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Luke. Hi, everybody. Hi, Paddy. Great to be here and great to see you all. Thank you for coming again. This is our second one. We'll be doing these regularly, so great to have a good turnout, and looking forward to getting it all out onto our socials as well, so that those who haven't heard it now can hear it later. So yes, it's been a busy few weeks, but very pleased that despite the huge undertaking to get so many complete constructing and validating nodes up and running on the network, the things have gone relatively smoothly, and creating the most decentralized blockchain out there, and having it out in the wild is very exciting. It's only been possible due to the hard work of our dev teams and the community team to field answers and questions. And of course, huge thanks to you all for being node runners and for being patient to learn and to feed back to us as well, so that we can continue to optimize and fix any issues as everything has been going live. Been talking to a lot of investors over the period who've invested in lots of projects, and they all say that the first few weeks are pretty hairy. I can concede that they have been, but again, very excited that we're now live and fully functioning, which is great. And also, what I'd like to do as a sort of major part of this AMA is to announce that we will be releasing the Maximise DApp into the DApp store straight after this AMA. It'll be pushed into the DApp store and you'll be able to download it from there. Maximise, in case you're not aware of it, is our fully collateralized, non-custodial loyalty yield MiniDapp, which means that you can lock up Minima and send it to future cash to your own node, where you will see your coins plus your additional coins in your future cash app. And this will be released to you as they mature over certain periods, with different amounts of yield as a result. And this is, the way that it's set up is that it's zero counterparty risk, zero contract exploit risk, because you hold the coins and you see them in your wallet. So there's no lending, no rug pull risk, and you're always in control. And this is our first Mini-dApp, which gives you passive income for holding your nodes and rewarding you for running your node over a fixed period of time. So yeah, we're very excited about that. And can only be done as a result of being fully constructing and validating nodes on a network. So we're very, very excited about that. There will be a YouTube video tutorial as well going up as well, in terms of how to use it and how to operate it. So please look out for that too. So that's a sort of hopefully a big warm welcome, and very pleased to be announcing Maximise coming to you today. I'll pass over to Paddy for your opening remarks and a quick update on the APK side of things.
Yeah, lovely. Hi guys, nice to be here again. Just to say on the Maximise thing, it's an exciting app actually, Maximise, because it's the first DApp stack. What I mean by that is that it sort of utilizes two mini-dApps. So you have the first one, which is the one where you send coins for us to see that you sent them, and then we send those back to you via a different mini-dApp, via Future Cash. So I'd really like to see more of that functionality. I'd really like the mini-dApps to be, I'm into these sort of base components that you can then use all together to come up with a full sort of system. And this is really the first time that we've managed to get something like this working. It's a very simple system. As Hugsy has said, it's non-custodial. You have the coins, they are sent to you. You're the ones in charge of them. So that's really nice. There's no risk to you. And the fact that it uses multiple mini-dApps is is a first. So I'm happy about that. If we could get this stuff sort of from Maxolo to Future Cache to Chatter to et cetera, it's really about the security and how to get mini-dApps to interact with each other. Security is quite a complicated topic, and anybody who knows anything about applications on Linux or proper systems where they all have their own different permissions, et cetera. So you have to be kind of careful when you're sticking these things together, and you need a proper system to allow them to interact in a way that doesn't let any of them do something that they shouldn't be allowed to do. So that's great, and I look forward to seeing how that all plays out. Good luck with that, when it's up in the store. As for updates on the APK, well, standard, basically. It's been the fires start, and we have to put the fires out. And that is just the nature of the beast. So we've been working hard over the weekend, blah, blah, blah. And I guess, I don't want to bore you. I know I've said this before, and I'm sorry for those of you that have already heard me say this, but I would like to say that, when you're looking at these cryptocurrencies that are out there, and when you're judging, how much time they've had to become strong, resilient, robust, strong applications with no bugs, et cetera, you sort of have to put these things into context. And what I mean by that is that an application like Bitcoin, for instance, has had, well, let's say conservatively, maybe 10 to 20,000 man years of coding. So if you think 1,000 coders for 10 years actually programming Bitcoin, that means you've had about 10 to 20,000 man years of code time has gone into that. Then you add to that, there's 10, 50 million people that use Bitcoin on a regular basis. Multiply that by a few years, we're talking 10 million man years of debugging. Then you start to come, to the, undeniable resilience and strength of an application like Bitcoin. And, that is the goal for all of us. But if you were to put Minima in that category, then realistically, what have we had? Maybe 10 to 20 man years. There's me and a few other coders who have been working on this for the last 5 years. So I think we can say we've had 20 man years of code. And then obviously we've got our, a large community, and that's good. But we're not in the millions and, tens of millions of hours of man years of development time and you guys checking it. So that is something that can only come with time and with usage, and you can't fake that. Experience is just something that comes with time, and there's nothing you can do to make it go any faster. So I do hope you understand that, and I'm sorry if there's if some of you have had issues with this or that, but as soon as we see an issue, we fix it. And the more of you that use it, then obviously the more of you are going to find some issues, and then the more work that we have to do. And that's really the way that the game is played. So we have tried our hardest, and we continue to do so. And I look forward to having an app as robust and resilient as I would like Minima to be. We're not quite there yet, but I think we're making great strides. Definitely a much, much more sturdy app than it was when we launched. And it's funny because obviously, we did do a lot of testing. We have got test suites and this, and we've tested it with loads of users, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, out in the wild is a very different, it's a very different animal. And the things that you do with the apps, we simply cannot foresee. And, which is wonderful and exciting, but also terrible and annoying. But that's just how code goes. You can spend months writing an application. It never breaks on your computer. You try to break it in lots of different ways. You give it to a tester. 30 seconds later, he's broken it. And you go, how did you do that? And I think we've had to, we've had a bit of that, recently. But onwards, upwards, new version gone out to the testers today. And, strength to strength. So looking forward to continuing to work on this, really quite incredible application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. We will dive headlong into the AMA segment then. Katerina asks why all the applications that the team have, or we've put out so far, have been aimed solely at speeding up the withdrawal of coins from the blockchain instead of developing an ecosystem. Where are the mini-dApps for which the blockchain itself was started?
So I'll take that. I mean, obviously, Minima at its core is about transfer of value, and that's why we've been creating a range of initial mini-dApps to send coins around the network. So that's where we started. But that said, obviously, Maximise now launches today, and this is to incentivize the community to run a node and to lock up their coins to earn yields. And we'll also soon be announcing the creation of a Uniswap liquidity provision staking pool to reward those liquidity providers in the Minima, the wrap Minima pool on Uniswap. Where LPs will be able to stake their LP tokens in our contract and earn Minima token and wrap Minima returns in addition to those earned from Uniswap as well. And in the coming months, we'll be launching campaigns and competitions to promote one of the key features of Minima that enables users to mint NFTs directly on your device. Because obviously, Minima is the only blockchain that allows anyone to actually mint an NFT directly on your device, because it has running a full constructing a validating node. And while we already have docs in the Learn section of the minima.global website, over the coming weeks and months, we'll be releasing video tutorials to cover off a lot of the other areas that will enable developers to start building their mini-dApps and their own mini-dApps, which obviously builds out the ecosystem. These include, I've got a long list here, but include why build on Minima, a basic mini-dApp using HTML, JS, CSS, MDS.js, how to use service.js, how to use script IDE, how to build a Hello World mini-dApp using React, a wallet mini-dApp tutorial, how to use RPC to make Minima calls from website, and also for those looking to get into sort of the Ethereum ecosystem using Solidity, looking at how to write a mini-dApp and time lock contract as well. And then finally, how to create your own mini-dApp store. So all of these things we'll now be building out as resources, both in the docs and also as video tutorials to help people build out the ecosystem that we have sort of created the guardrails for. And then finally, we're also working on a number of exciting demos with our partners at Mobility X Labs. That includes Volvo, CVT, Ericsson, Polestar, and if successful, then these will then translate into full-scale deployments in 2024. So again, we're working on sort of their varying different levels of ecosystem build-out, from sort of the basics of mini-dApps through to the sort of enterprise-grade, enterprise-level sort of applications that will sit on Minima for enterprise solutions that will get us into hundreds of thousands of devices as well.
Yeah, and I'll just chip in and say that if you want to build an ecosystem, then you're going to need strong foundations. And that is one of the things that we try to do here at Minima. So I would say that the applications that we write are sort of base components. I know I keep saying that, but there's a lot you can do without having to get all complicated about it. Once you've got a multi-sig contract, you can basically do multi-party computations and everything. You could have 8 people doing something, and as long as 5 of them agree, you get the payout, and they get a little reward for that. And if you don't agree, then you don't get the payout. So that's a very simple system that you can set up without having to do anything complicated, which allows you to basically do anything. So I don't think it's the case that you need to write exceptionally complicated contracts. There are times when you want to write some nice, complicated contracts. I'm working on a couple of poker contracts myself that run on layer 2, and they are more complicated. But there is a lot you can do with these base components once you get your head around what it is that we're trying to do here. And Hugo is absolutely right when he says that the base, core, absolute fundamental thing that Minima does is value transfer. It's not. Although we do that over Maxima, you wouldn't run Chatter over Minima layer 1. You wouldn't run Max Solo over layer 1. You wouldn't, there are some things that Minima is geared towards, and there are just some things that it's not geared towards. I'm sure from my last rant, you all know how unimpressed I am with DAOs and all that sort of stuff, because I don't really see them as the use case for a value transfer blockchain. So once you understand what it is that you can do with Minima, various interesting use cases pop out of that, and we're trying to give you the building blocks at the lower level, because once you've got the strong foundations, then we can build everything on top of that. But we need those foundations, to be rock solid before moving onwards. Thank you.
Rudolph asks, I seem to understand that it should be relatively easy to build Mini-dApps. What do you recommend for where I can start for someone such as me who is an interested beginner?
Go on then, Alex. You can start.
No, I'll start. So only just to say, obviously on Minima.global, the Learn section and how to build a Mini-dApp is a really good place to start. But we realise absolutely that people much prefer to look at video content than go through reams and reams of docs. So that's why we'll be creating a sort of a series of video content that will be explaining things to people, and also we will be looking to incentivize with Minima coins as well people who start building and start showcasing what they're building and the journey that they go on as well. So hopefully that will help sort of give people the tools, but also the incentive to do that as well.
And I'll just chip in and say that most of the mini-dApps, frankly, started off with yours truly, and I'm old school, so I write in HTML5, JS, CSS, very simple. And if you look in the MDS folder of the main GitHub repo for Minima, you will see 8 or 9 mini-dApps, like the first version of Max Solo, Terminal, my version of Chatter, etc., etc. Very simple applications that show quite how easy it is to write a mini-dApp. It's basically just an HTML file, a JS file, a CSS, and MDS.js. And if you look at those, it should be possible. I will be doing a video. I'm the opposite. I don't like videos. I like reading it in docs. But anyway, we are going to be doing the videos to make it simpler for people to do this. But if you want to go and have a look and see how this stuff is done, the MDS folder in the main GitHub repo has plenty of examples about how you can get this stuff going, and it's really very, very simple. So if you think it's complicated, we've either explained it wrong, or so do ask us in the development channels, and I'm sure someone will be able to help you.
So I lost my mouse for a second then. Yes, I'm just going to say, like SpartacusRex said at the end there, we have channels on Discord within the community where you'll find people in the moderator team who are building things out, as well as other interested parties. If your method of learning is to talk through your problems with people, you'll be able to do that there as well. We're working hard to make sure we've got as many different ways for you to engage with this content as possible, so that you can find one that works for you. MF1 says, what will Minima do to attract developers to build on Minima?
What's MF stand for? Sorry, I'm kidding. Hugo, do you want to go? That's a horrible.
So yeah, basically, again, like I said, tutorials and video content, not just the docs, minimum incentives, and then in the future we also do plan to have fiat grants as well, to keep the lights on for people, so that they can be attracted to that. As the ecosystem builds, then hopefully it'll build itself as well. We'll be encouraging it at every stage, and also we'll be conducting AMAs both internal and external to different groups to eulogize about the power and the benefit of the Minima ecosystem and what you can build on it, and then obviously backing that up with in the coming months, the partnership announcements in terms of where it's being used on an enterprise level as well.
And I'll chip in by saying that I am Hugsy's a top-down man, and I'm a bottom-up man. And if you ask me, the main way to get people to work on Minima is to have lots of people using Minima, since when they see people using it, they'll think, oh, that's an interesting platform. Why don't I start getting stuck in? So maybe, I think there's certain things that Minima does that no other chain does. So, everybody understands value transfer. We've got Bitcoin, we've got Ethereum, we've got smart contracts, we've got all that stuff, but none of the chains have anywhere close to the functionality or power that Maxima gives you. So I do find, I was with someone this weekend, Chatter is a great app to show people the sort of things that you could write without even needing any Minima. If you wanted to do some sort of communications application, some sort of social network application, I'd love to see a full website browsing internet style thing. I did write one about a year ago called Max Web, but maybe not going so hardcore into the value transfer bit and trying to explain to them that, well, look, you've got this complete peer-to-peer network where users can communicate with each other. Is another great starting point. And if you wanted to write any sort of application on that front, then you could do that. So we need the users, and as more users come, then developers will be excited about writing applications on Minima. I think it's pretty, it's as simple as that. And the best we can do is, as has been mentioned many times in this conversation, to better docs, better videos, better examples about how you lot can start writing applications yourself. And that's exactly what we're working on.
Awesome. And I think MF probably has to stand for Minimalist Forever, surely.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought.
Dex Heim has questions about our launch strategy. They're wondering why we entered mainnet proper instead of some sort of mainnet alpha beta, as we don't yet have Omnia in place, which obviously solve one part of the trilemma in terms of transaction speed. They're wondering why there's not any mention of it in the 2023 roadmap, and they're wondering when we can learn more and expect an announcement about Omnia.
Well, what I'll say, sorry, Hugs, I'm going in. What I'll say about Omnia is the way Omnia works is that it allows you to do any sequence of layer 1 transactions between a subset of users and a subset of tokens instantly and for free. So that really has to kick in when we start getting a lot of traffic on the main network. So there is nothing that you can do on Omnia that you can't do on layer 1. It's just that it's slower and clunkier. Yeah, that's the difference between layer 1 and layer 2. So for now, it's not that I would like to have Omnia, but as we were still sort of building out the base components, and if there is something that you want to do, you can do it on layer 1. There's not enough traffic on there to push you onto layer 2 yet. That's, really where layer 2 comes in. As for launching the mainnet without these things, as I mentioned earlier, there's just no substitute to giving it to you for real. We were in testnet for 3 years, 2.5 years. And we've learned more in the last 2 months than we did in the last 3 years. And that cannot be faked. I can't simulate a live network unless it's live. It just doesn't work. So it was important that we launched. It was important that you lot started to care about these coins, that you lot started to tell us when things went wrong. Because the truth is, you didn't tell us that often when they went wrong on the testnet. Because as long as you got your IC tokens, everyone was sort of happy. But now that it matters, now that it's for real, everything changes. There's a very different vibe on the network. There's a very different feel to using a loaded gun and one that's got blanks in it, and that just can't be faked. And so that's why we had to launch, and we are learning exponentially more as we go along. So I think it was the right choice, and we had to do that basically to see how it goes in the real world.
Anything to add, Hugo?
No, all I'd say is, the point is that we are compatible with L2 scaling solution. So we will be able to build that, and we'll be able to build on the shoulders of giants that have been building that in the past. So we won't be trying to sort of reinvent that ourselves, but we will have it ready to go once we are ready with it, in terms of sort of having the mainnet fully functioning, and that is definitely on our roadmap. And to Heim's point, we will be updating a new roadmap to include that on there as well.
Cool. Thank you for that. Suragaki has a question directly for SpartacusRex, and they say, due to the advent of artificial intelligence, which is smart, or so we are told, they believe that the elliptic curve of Bitcoin will soon come to an end. because at present many groups of people are trying to find the relationship between private keys and addresses. They feel it remains only a matter of time until someone adapts AI to that search. So their question then is, how secure is Minima's blockchain from this type of attack?
Okay, cool. A nice mathsy question. First, I'd like to say that I don't believe in artificial intelligence. Either you're intelligent or you're not. So I'm not sure where the artificial bit in comes in. As for artificial intelligence itself helping in cracking ECDSA, I'm not sure if that's going to help either. So the thing about all these current signature schemes, the ones that everybody uses, is that they all use discrete maths. They all use the same problem. They all use factorization, which means, to keep it simple, they've got a really, really, really big number. And as long as you know the factors, then you can come up with the keys. So I give you a number which has got 100 digits. And I say, look, what are the two prime factors of this number? The only way of calculating that currently known to us is just to divide it by every number smaller than itself. This takes a lot of time. The problem with that is that quantum computers can break that very easily. So, well, I suppose they could get an AI to help them build a quantum computer, and that would help. But really, if you want to crack ECDSA, you're going to have a quantum computer. And once you've got one of those, then they all break. SSL breaks. Yeah, the little padlock on your web browser breaks once we have a quantum computer. Now, currently, there are, I think there's about two maybe, there's lattices or whatever, signature schemes that are quantum secure. And what I mean by that is they don't use factorization. Minima uses one of these systems. Minima's system is a hash-based system that was actually invented in the 1970s by Lindsay Lamport. It's a very old scheme that we've all known about for ages and ages. And what that means is that the Minima signature scheme is secure as long as nobody can break SHA-3. So Minima uses SHA-3, and as long as you can't crack that, as long as you can't figure out what the pre-image was from the hash, then Minima is secure. And quantum computers don't break that. And so as far as these signatures, this was exactly why we went for this, because the truth is that for Minima to be finished, which it is, and it has to have a scheme that we're not going to have to update. Now, all these other chains are going to have to try and hard fork this in at some point. I'm going to conservatively say it's going to take maybe 10 to 20 years. Okay, 10 to 20, whenever we put our minds together, the human race, we pretty much break whatever it is that we want to. So I don't think we're going to crack this in the next 5 years, but in the next 10 to 20 years, sure, we might break ECDSA, and then everybody's going to have to worry about all these chains. Minima doesn't have that issue because it simply relies on the collision resistance of hash functions. And as an aside as well, which is quite interesting, I think, that these other chains, for instance, Bitcoin uses RIPE-MD 160. It uses a short hash for when you get your address. That is called a RIPE-MD 160 hash of your address. It uses SHA-2 and it uses ECDSA. So actually, it's got three cryptographic primitives that its security relies on. Minima relies on a single cryptographic primitive. Everything in Minima is based on SHA-3, and not only that, blockchains use hashing. Nobody knew hashing was as interesting and cool as it was until blockchains came along. And it sort of struck me as not just serendipitous, just sort of like, wouldn't it be wonderful if, blockchains showed us how good hashing was, so why not just use hashing for everything? And so the entire cryptographic security, the only way that you can really break Minima is if you break SHA-3. We don't use anything else. There's no ECDSA, there's no RIPE-MD 160. Ethereum has a couple of other schemes that you can use, but Minima has chosen to be a singular cryptographic primitive chain, which I really like, which means that there's less attack surface. There's only one way of breaking Minima, and currently no one's close to that. So that's how we get around that issue, and that is why we chose the signature scheme that we have. It's not even. The implementation we use was written by me, but the method, the thing that we are implementing, was designed 50 years ago and is very well known, very sturdy mathematics. There's nothing new about it, just the implementation of it, which was done by me.
Thanks, Spartacus. Ivochi asks, I noticed in the tokenomics document that there will be incentives for running nodes after the TGE. Do you have any updates on when this will go live, and how will you determine if a node has been running for 6 months or 1 year?
So just a quick one. So on the incentives for running nodes after the TGE. So obviously Maximise is the key thing to be able to earn a yield on your Minima holdings, your Minima coins. And obviously in order to do that, you have to be running a node. So that is a key part of our incentives to run nodes across, be running now nodes in the short term before utility kicks in and everyone's running nodes because of the utility that Minima provides. There were also those who've been running nodes in the testnet and were part of the incentive program and they have been verified. They'll be able to collect node running rewards of 75 coins after 6 months and 75 coins after 12 months. And that obviously requires nodes to be running in order to collect those. So that's how we sort of determine the fact that people are still running their nodes. I don't know if you want to add any more to that, Paddy.
Yeah, no, and I guess what I'd like to say is that people seem to think that when you're running a node, you're doing it for someone else. You're not. You're running a node to protect your coins. Yeah, this is the cooperative element of Minima. You're doing it because you need to run a node to protect your coins. You're not doing it to protect my coins. I'm running a node to protect my coins, and you're doing it to protect your coins. But because the game we play on Minima is a cooperative game, what is good for me is good for you. What is good for you is good for me, and that's really nice. Yeah, the incentive for you to run it is not a stick. Yeah, we're not here to say, run it and you'll get this. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. You're doing it because if you have coins, especially if you have coins on future cash or you have other coins or tokens or whatever, then what is asked of you should be so insignificant that you're happy to do it. It's like, well, look, why wouldn't I protect my coins? Why wouldn't I have this application running in the background on my phone? Yes, Minima could do with optimization. Yes, we could work on it so that it uses less of your battery, less of your hard drive, less of your network connection, et cetera, and that will come with time. That's the risk reward. You're here at the beginning of the game, which is why the rewards you should garner are larger than those who join later on. But the real incentive for you to run is that you are protecting your coins. And if you don't want to protect your coins, don't run Minima. That's fine. But if you do have Minima, or you do have tokens, or you do have something waiting in future cash, why wouldn't you? Yeah, that's the way Minima works. And just by doing that, you're helping everybody else. And everybody else operates on that same basis. So what they do helps you. So as I said, this is the benefits of a cooperative network. The incentive is there for you to run it without us forcing you to run it. You should want to run the node to look after your coins. That's the whole point of Minima.
So I'm going to look at the questions that we've got on the stage questions channel now. This is an interesting one. Paradin asks why we aren't doing some sort of KYC for users who want to run a node, specifically the APK, actually, the Android node, in their question. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, the reason why we did KYC was because we were accepting money from backers and investors, and obviously in order to receive money from people we have to do KYC, but actually to run a piece of software there's no KYC required. In many ways that is the beauty of a completely open source decentralized network, that anyone can run a node. So KYC is not required to run a node because no money is being transacted at that point.
The fiat money. I hate KYC, honestly. It's just like it's an absolute scourge of everything because it doesn't help anybody. And all the people that shouldn't, who have issues with KYC, just get around it. And the 99.99% of you who are actually decent people who don't have any issues with it, you go through all the hoops to see if we can somehow corner the 0.1% of people who may have issues when they do their KYC. So I'm absolutely not for KYC in any regards ever. And as Hugo said, you're running the whole thing. If you were using us as a website, if we were a third party that you had to sort of interact with, then maybe that could be an issue. But because on Minima that isn't the case, and because you're doing everything yourself, and because your transactions with other users is peer-to-peer, then you don't have to do KYC. So that's a big boom, in my opinion.
Well, it can also serve as a point of centralization, right?
Absolutely. Which is why you don't want
Generals has a question about, I hope I pronounced that right, has a question around the company, the business. They're wondering how many technical people we have working on Minima ourselves at the moment.
Okay. In the tech team, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's about 5 of us. I mean, you'd like to, unfortunately, we're not one of these cryptocurrencies that raise billions and billions of dollars who have 100-man teams working on this stuff. Although I have to say, I've always found that to be a negative. Yeah, the truth is, one 10x engineer is frankly worth 100 non-10x engineers. It just means you can get on with stuff. You want people that you can bounce your ideas off, and you want top talent, obviously. But these sort of problems I have found are not simply an issue of quantity. Quality is what matters. You want good people working on it. You can definitely get just as much done with a small team of good programmers, which you may not even be able to do with an enormous team of bad programmers. So I do not feel size is as important as some people do, and I feel that we have a strong tech team that allows us to do what we need to do, write these base components.
And also, I mean, obviously, we will be, as we go into the iPhone implementation and the native Android implementation and the C++ implementation for IoT, then obviously we'll be bringing in specific skill sets for that as well. But the critical point was to launch Minima Mainnet so that we're live, and then we'll be building on top of that as well.
Actually leads us quite nicely, Hugo, onto Ivochi's question, which is effectively, when iPhone?
That's a good question. I mean, as I say, our aim is to do it. We're starting it this year, and to try and complete that within the year, because obviously we're very aware that there are a lot of iPhone users out there, and a lot of people want to have the ease of use of having an app working directly on their iPhone. I mean, at the moment, obviously, people can run Minima on their Mac, and then run a node from there. So that is the easiest way to do that for Mac users. But obviously, iPhone is a critical part of our roadmap to get that working as well.
And I'll just chip in because I actually did this weekend. I had an iPhone user who wanted to use it on his iPhone, and we did get it working. So there's 2 ways that this can happen. We did actually have an iPhone version. So there is a library out there called J2OBJ-C, which Google uses to convert all its applications that it writes on Android using Android and Flutter. And then you just plug it into this library, and it just pops out an iOS application. And it works unbelievably really well. I was actually very skeptical about it, but when I played with it, it worked. And I plugged Minima into it, and it worked. And I was like, wow. And we actually had... I remember way back when it was Elias and me, and we got an iOS version running, and the only way we could get it to work in the background, given all the restrictions that Apple gives you, was to play a silent WAV in the background. That way Apple wouldn't shut it down. But clearly they're not going to let us on the App Store with that, so clearly we're going to have to make some fundamental modifications to it to get it to work natively on an iPhone. But having said that, if you would like to use Minima on your iPhone, there is a very simple way of doing that. There is a slightly technical yet simple way of doing that, and that is just run Minima in the cloud. Run it on one of your servers, on G-Cloud or whatever. Lots of people running Docker, lots of people running it on their servers. Then at least you don't get any of the battery issues or the processing issues, because when you run Minima on a server, it's literally 1%. It doesn't use any processing or anything. So anybody who's already got a server, it's very easy for you to do that. And then you could use the Mini-dApp system. And the Mini Hub was written specifically for this reason, because you can log into that system from your iPhone and you just get the Mini Hub and all the Mini-dApps, and everything works beautifully. So there is a roundabout way of doing it so that you can use this on your iPhone today. But yes, you need to be running Minima in the cloud, and then you just log into the Mini-dApp system. Other than that, getting the native version is actually more about Apple and its restrictions and how we're going to, navigate that course than actually getting the working iOS Objective-C version, which we already have. It's just not allowed to go on the App Store. So those are the two ways that I would do it. And in fact, there's an open challenge. If anybody's interested in a little, you could run Minima as a service. Yeah, you could do a MAAS and just do it as the Docker image and just run it in the cloud. Google makes it very easy for you to do that. So there are a few options about how to sort this out. But if you want to get it so that you can do it on your iPhone today, that's probably the best way of doing it. Just run it in the cloud, log into the Mini-dApp system, or you can wait for us to battle Apple's restrictions and get a native version working on your iPhone.
It's true. In fact, actually, we will be announcing soon in the coming weeks an application that is built on Minima, but is also iPhone compatible. So again, as Paddy said, using the cloud, so running a Minima as a service in many ways in the cloud, and then linking into an iPhone. So you'll be able to run Minima from your iPhone in that way as well. And obviously, native iPhone Minima will be a bit longer down the road.
Mont3, good lad. He is obviously building his own project on Minima, and he's keen to get it working with Max Solo. So he's wondering where are we at with getting mini-dApps interacting with one another, and I suppose Maximise is an example of that.
Well, I think what Mont3 wants, though, is he wants to be able to open one Mini-dApp from another. So you can click one link in one Mini-dApp and it opens a Mini-dApp in the other. And William, which is his name, I hope you won't mind me saying that, I think I have come up with a solution for that. And I'll talk, it's technical nerd stuff, but I think what we can do is when you click a link, I'll open a page on the Mini Hub with certain parameters. And then should you click that, it will open the actual page. And this is all to get around the whole read-write issue, yeah? Because you may have noticed when you run these mini-dApps, they have a read mode and a write mode. Read mode means you can look at stuff and you can status and balance and all that stuff, but you can't send coins because, clearly if you install a dodgy mini-dApp, I can just take all your coins and send them. So you have to be very, very careful about which applications you give permissions to. And if you make it possible for an application to open another application, I can write JavaScript code that allows me to just open that page, in the background, get all the settings that I want, and then I can start doing naughty things. So, I'm sorry to say, mentioned a couple of times, we just need to have a secure system. I think I have a version, and I will be implementing it as soon as I get through my pile of work on the right-hand side of my desk. But that's clearly going to have to be something that we're going to have to get working. And I think we have a solution for you, mate. Just give me a bit of time and I'll knock it out. Thank you.
Another technical question for you, Spartacus. Joshua is asking about the possibility of a testnet for developers. So
it's very easy to set up a private testnet. I agree, it's not the same. You can do the -Genesis, -No P2P, -Test, blah blah blah. But it would be nice, to have a public testnet where loads of people could interact over the internet. Clearly, something that we should get running. I'm not even sure if we shut down the 103 version yet, but we will be launching something that is more public. So I guess. The reason we haven't done it is that it's very, very simple to set up a private testnet for yourself when you're mucking about. But a public testnet where you can just, do whatever you want, just need to sort out, it gets confusing then because people might be running the testnet, not the real net. Do we have a separate APK for that or the same APK, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely something that we will get running in the near future because I do agree that it's very useful to have that.
I hope that helps you out there, Joshua. Lewis C5 is asking about repatriating wrap Minima into Minima. He's keen to do that, and he's wondering if there's any way to do it before Mini-swap is available. I think the answer is no, but I thought I'd put that one out there.
Mini-swap! Sorry. I'm sorry Mini-swap isn't available yet. We're having a few issues with the ETH side of things. the complexity of the contracts, etc., etc. It is a very simple system, very secure as always, non-custodial. All the things that matter to us here at Minima. So that is really the way to do it, because that will be a trustless way for you to exchange wrap Minima for Minima. I have seen the little group on Discord where you're doing it. That's kind of, I love it, and yet it's totally trustless, and who knows what's going on in there. Not really any trustless way of doing it currently until we get Miniswap out. But we're talking weeks here. I'm so sorry. It's not months, it's weeks. We wanted to do the launch today, but we thought it best just to hold off and to do Maximise first. We've got the testers on it, and in the next coming weeks, we will definitely have the Miniswap app out, and then you guys can start swapping your wrap Minima for Minima, or the other way around, or for anything really, your native Minima for USDT, or your wrap Minima for a token. I'd like to integrate NFTs really, so that you could sell tokens on Minima for ETH or USDT on Ethereum. So once you have this HTLC tech, once you have this swap technology, this cross-chain, atomic cross-chain transfers, ACCT as they're known, very old tech, way back when on Bitcoin Talk. Once we get that, you'll be able to do this. I'm sorry you've had to wait this long, but it is in the works, and we will have it out in a couple of weeks.
Simon Hewins is potentially more for me, actually. He's asking about connecting with developers who want to build or collaborate on mini-dApps. He's asking where the best place is to post questions along the lines of, "Hi devs, anyone want to work with me on project whatever?" So we have the developer channels within the Discord server where you can do that sort of thing, although I do take your point on board there about having somewhere specific for those requests that cuts out the noise, so I'll take that one on board. And I see you're interested in creating some gambling games like Coin Flip. So anybody listening, if you are a dev and you're looking to do some building along with Simon, reach out to him. Simon, I will reach out to you separately after this call. Let's go on that.
Get in touch, Simon. I've got a few ideas for that app.
There you go. One last little scan through. No, chaps, I think that's it for today. Last call for any questions in the Stage Questions channel. No one is furiously typing, so I think we will bring this one to a close. Hugo, Spartacus, did you have anything you want to say in closing?
Thanks for all your time and thanks for listening, and look forward to the next one.
And I will say we are at the beginning. We have so far to go. Thank you so much for all your patience. As I said, when we launched, on the day we launched to our team, as the fires start, we will put them out, and that is exactly what we've been doing. And as the fires continue to start, which they always do, then we will continue to put them out. And that is really all I can say about that. And, it has been wonderful and scary and exciting and frustrating, but that is code. And those of you who do code know what I'm talking about. And I look forward to continue doing that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you both for your time today. So the last thing for myself then is obviously, as has been announced on this call, Maximise, our Yield MiniDapp product will be live on https://minidapps.minima.global imminently, and there will also on our YouTube channel be some tutorial videos for you on how to use that. Thank you everyone so much for your time today. If Easter is your thing, I hope you've had a wonderful Easter, and we will catch up with you all again very soon. Thank you.
See you soon, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.